Well, focusing on security, a lot has been going on over the week and even previously, but today, keeping our focus on that, we've got retired Major General Garba Wahab. He's a former Director, Army Administration. He's also former Director of Operations at Army Headquarters, GOC 1 Division. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today on the program. Well, yes, there's been a lot of focus on the service chiefs. Several meetings have been held, and several groups, states trying to do something to see how we can sort all of this out. Do you make any sense of all that is going on at the moment in the country?
Thank you very much. I think we're driving ourselves into panic mode. And I believe what we're doing is I could equate it to a situation where somebody is under a rubble and you want to save him, you want to bring him out. If you force him out of the rubble, you are going to, at the end of the day, kill him, if you don't seriously injure him. So what we need to do is to look after him, sustain him, and start removing the problems, those rubbles that are on top of him. So what we need to do is keep on maintaining whatever we have, semblance of security right now, and solve the problem. There are basic problems that if you don't solve them, no matter who you bring. I said this in 2018, the same problem are still there. You can't, there's no magic anywhere. We must plan, we must be prepared to do whatever we needed to do. And I gave 3 levels of activities that need to be done. 1, security awareness among Nigerians. People are not security conscious. And so it's unfortunate. Whatever you do, if people are not ready to provide what is required to do the job, 2 million at the most, all the security agencies combined, to safeguard 200 million. It's going to be difficult if people are not ready to provide information, to provide intelligence, and to believe in the entity of Nigeria. The second level is the security agencies themselves. There must be coordination. The various acts establishing the agencies, there are so many overlapping functions. And so we have issues of duplication. And there is no coordination, which everybody has been shouting about. And at the topmost level is at the state and federal government level. 1, we must ensure that local governments work. If they don't, we'll just be wasting our time, we'll be running around. Because everybody, every one of us is living in a local government area. So if you have security at the local level, then definitely the state will be secured. Unfortunately, the Constitution only says we, the people of Nigeria, come together to live in peace and harmony. There's no absolute peace. What you have is positive peace. So there must be conflict at every point in time. It is left for the law enforcement agencies to work, and that's why the federal government comes in. The Constitution must be reviewed as a matter of urgency. There must be something propelling each and every one of us to work as Nigerians. You place the police under two masters, a minister and police service commission. And the police service commission has the power to appoint and dismiss officers, less the IG. And yet, the chairman of the police service commission is usually a former IG who had gone through the problem and now is there. So we are the ones, self-inflicted problems. So unless we solve those problems, we will just be moving in circles.
All right, now, if I could, let me go back to the very first one. You say we're not security aware. The awareness has got to be a lot higher. But did you identify the reasons why this low level or non-existent of security awareness? Because, I mean, people will always tell you that, look, if we do certain things, they don't see a framework. They don't see organization and coordination. So how much impact can that awareness have if, at the end of the day, it doesn't achieve the kind of results that people want?
We've been living a false security life in Nigeria for so long. And I've mentioned it on several occasions. Even our kids, we don't allow our kids to talk when they see something. We shut them down even in our homes. So security awareness starts from the home, from the various houses. If you don't allow your kids to report something that is wrong, then something is fundamentally wrong. It is not when they get to school, oh, don't let this auntie talk to you. Don't let this sister talk to you. That's not security awareness. Whatever happens, there must be somebody who is responsible. In Nigeria, there is so much impunity. And so it cuts across virtually every segment of the society. Yes, the government needs to provide the policy, the guidelines, and the environment to do that. The police must earn the trust and respect of the average Nigerian. And the Nigerians too must respect the police. Respect flows two ways. If you tear a police personnel's uniform, you laugh at him, yet you want him to perform. It's not possible. It's not going to happen. So you can't bring an idea from somewhere and believe it's going to work. Our culture differs from the culture we want to borrow from. So we must imbibe that attitude of being security conscious and aware right from our various homes to schools, to everywhere. We should not wait until somebody gets to secondary school or university. Then you want to teach him how to be security conscious. It's not possible. It's not going to work.
Now, you also talked about the coordination, but before we go there, this security awareness thing, how do people trust the security operatives that they are going to report to? You said, you know, when people see anything, they should be able to say something. Well, granted, but then you also want to measure the trust quotient between the people and the security personnel. How far with that? What do you think?
Yes, the trust is lacking seriously. And like I said when I started, trust is earned. It's not bestowed on anybody. It is left for the law enforcement agencies to work and be seen to be working, not to be supporting anything. And then the elites need to do so much. If you carry, for instance, the police supports or they are following somebody who is just an ordinary person, but because he is so much rich that he can afford to pay, and you have 3 policemen supporting you, and he does something wrong in society, and nobody could talk, there is no way an average person will go and report anything they've seen to the police on that basis. So we need to check, the security agencies need to check themselves too, and do the needful and the rightful thing, so that the trust will be earned. And trust is earned through performance. They need to perform. If they perform, then people will start trusting them. And if you don't give somebody an opportunity to perform, how do you know whether the person will perform or not? So if we keep on judging based on perception, based on past things that had happened, now we're in a new era. Let us trust and ensure that these people perform their responsibility and their job.
Now, the 2 agencies of security apparatus have community relations units. There's the police community relations team. There's also the civilian military relations, apparatus in terms of the military. How do these, in your own perception, in your own view, how do you think these are impacting on the general relationship between the people whom they are supposed to be helping or to securing and the security agencies themselves?
So much needs to be done. If it's actually working, we won't be talking the way we're talking today. It's like something, there is still a gap on pertaining to the 2. It's not only the 2. It's not only the military-civil relation affairs and the police-community relation that we're talking about. It's a whole of activities involved. And so, one, even the military needs to be a little bit open, let people understand what they're doing, let people understand what they stand for, and then the police too, they need to go back to live within the community. If you stay outside and you come around with meat in offices, it does not do anything, it does not do much. It's just reduced to meetings. It has to go beyond meetings. If you are within the environment, that's what the police are supposed to do. Live within the environment. Live within amongst and within the people. It becomes clearer and easier for information to be passed and for things to be corrected easily. But when we stay off and then we now depend on police community meetings and civil military affairs meetings, nothing much will be achieved because it will have been reduced to mere meetings. And meetings does not produce anything in Nigeria from whatever level you are talking about. So, so much more needs to be done about that.
Well, let's hope that your advice is taken. But you also mentioned the issue of coordination among the security agencies. This was also something the president raised when he met with the service chiefs recently, coordination among the security agencies. What exactly is the problem? You talked about the fact that some of them have laws where their functions, kind of conflict with each other.
Overlap.
What needs to be done now? Are you asking for amendments to their laws? Or what exactly are you asking for here?
Yes. Number one, there should be a review of the various acts. Maybe the Attorney General or the Minister of Justice will be tasked to look at that and work with the National Assembly. Because if you don't streamline the various acts, we'll continue to have these issues and these problems. Even for instance, let me give you an example. The Terrorism Prevention Act gives both the Office of the National Security Advisor and Inspector General of Police the coordination of terrorism prevention. You don't give two masters a boat to control. That's a major creation. And like I said, the same thing is happening to the police. We must be clear and be concise in what we want. Processes and procedures, which are in most of our books, are not being followed. For instance, the average Nigerian Army officer, the average Nigerian Air Force officer or Navy will believe that it is a norm for the military to be on the street. Now, most of the young ones coming out now, which is not so. It is when the police are indicated, either to the state governor or to the president, that they cannot perform, they cannot do a job, that the military is called out to assist. It's only in insurgency that they have the right to come out. The president has Section 218, gives the president the power for operational use of the military. But when it comes to civil assistance to civil authority, there must be an indication that something is wrong. And then the military comes in, documents are signed. When you finish, the police don't go away, they are at the back. When you finish, you hand back to them. All this coordination are not there. And we must be clear as to what we want the National Security Advisor to do. Is he a commander? Is he an advisor? If he's supposed to be an advisor, he's supposed to be the one coordinating. You can't be involved in the day-to-day operations and want to coordinate. You can't coordinate yourself. So the NSA needs to sit back and look, monitor, evaluate, and give feedback as to who is doing what and what is happening and what is not. But right now, the NSS office is involved in the day-to-day operation, which is why there is no coordination. He needs to sit away and sit back and allow these agencies to do their job, and then now monitor, evaluate, and give them feedback as to what they are doing.
When you speak about military presence and the fact that some people might not be able to relate to military not being in some areas, they've seen that as a norm over the couple of years. But seeing what the police achieved, according to reports we got in Gwari, Kaduna State, the killing of 250 bandits, do you think that the police is now saying, you know what, we're now able to handle some of these areas that the military, has taken charge of over the past few years?
To start with, it's actually the police's responsibility to do all those things. It is when they indicate that they cannot perform that the military is called out to assist. So if the police is capable, have been trained and equipped to do that, of course, they are allowed to perform their responsibilities. The military will draw from those areas. And actually, that is what the NSS office is supposed to be doing. If there is positive peace in a particular place where there has been a problem or crisis, then the military is allowed to hand back, sign a document, hand back that area to the police, and they move completely back to the barracks to allow the civil agencies to do their job. Even in the Northeast, where we have stability operation taking place in some areas, it is not a military responsibility. Stability operation is supposed to be civil-led. So areas where the police can perform, I don't see why the military should be taxed to continuously do that. So we need to allow a review and a sit back and come up and say, look, hold on a minute, in A, B, C, D states, we think the police can take over. And gradually, the police are allowed to take over their responsibility and perform their constitutional rules.
Do you then agree with people that are calling for a change of service chiefs in the country?
Change over what? Like I started with. If you change now, if the situation had not, the necessary things that are supposed to be in place are not put in place, you are just changing the head. You've not changed the situation. The environment must be worked upon seriously before you now say, okay, everybody or A, B, C, D. you need to go. Thank you very much. Your time is up. But if you don't provide the wherewithal, the environment is not there. The new people come in, are they magicians? The old ones perform their magic. The new ones cannot perform extra magic more than what the average Nigerian will allow them to do. We need to be sure of what we actually want, security-wise. We have not decided what we want.
Yeah, but General Hal, but get your point. But if they know, if they see that, look, because I mean, only recently the National Assembly also did say the majority of the call, what a lot of people think that they should go. Shouldn't they don't they themselves feel the pulse of the people? Because that will also send a lot of messages out there for people to think, well, if I can't perform, well, let me stand down and see if somebody else can do it. But if we don't have results, much desired results, and people sit back, of course, that will dissuade a lot of people from doing their level best, don't you think?
It's unfortunate that in Nigeria we tend to forget things easily. This same issue came up in November 2018, and I was in these channels, and I said the same thing. And after some wonderful performance, everybody went back and we felt, oh, let us relax, leave them, let them continue. And moreover, the onus of removal or appointment is on the president. He has the right to appoint and relieve any of the service chiefs. We have a culture in this part of the world where you believe when you tell your boss, I'm going, you are being rude, you are being insolent. It's a cultural thing, and we need to imbibe what happens in other parts of the world. What we are saying will have obtained elsewhere. In the U.S., Rumsfeld felt what he needed was to take 100,000 men to Iraq in 2000 and 2003. And the chief of staff army said, no, I need close to 500,000. And the man said, no, take on 50 or leave it. He resigned and left. And at the end of the day, they ended up taking more than $1 million to Iraq. So, but he cannot say, sorry, I was wrong from the beginning. So a lot of issues. There are so many issues, cultural, traditional, and things like that that are involved in this particular situation.
In consideration of some of those issues that you've raised, many will always ask questions. From your perspective, do you think the president has a full picture of what's really going on in the country, security-wise?
That is the job of the intelligence heads to brief him on a regular basis. The job of the NSA, the job of DG, SSS, the job of the Inspector General of Police. And if they've been doing their job, it should be, he might not know completely, it's not possible to give an absolute picture of what is really happening. But the basics should be known to him. If it is not, then there is a great disservice. But I believe that somewhere, somehow, if the coordination have been happening, if the National Security Council have been meeting regularly and decisions have been taken and follow-up actions are taken, some of these things we are talking about wouldn't come up. And moreover, you might have a National Defense Council, National Security Council that is covered in both the National Defense Policy of Nigeria and the National Security Strategy that was recently launched. But the issue is, even in the developed world, UK, US, apart from those councils, you have a smaller group, close-knitted group, headed by the president and maybe 4 or 5 people, who take decisions and who are briefed on a regular basis. And it is that body that decides, yes, this is what is actually happening, and this is the solution to it. We don't have that in Nigeria right now.
Given the calls for state of emergency by various groups, given the calls for regional outfits being set up for security, do you still think that the president has been given a basic picture of the security challenges that we have?
That's what I said. I said it behoves on those. I'm not part of those.
Oh, I mean, from your own perspective,
from your perspective, but somewhere along the line.
From your perspective, General, in all that is being happening, the calls for state of emergency,
I don't know what is being told, but it should be on top of the situation. But don't forget that in Nigeria we are virtually politicizing the security issue, and I pray and I hope we are not pursuing the agenda of the Americans, who said by 2015 Nigeria will break, and we are lucky we didn't break by 2015 since 2001. And then they've shifted the date and said by 2030 we're going to break. And that's why they refuse to assist in the fight against Boko Haram. Bring 2-3 guys to assist in intelligence, whatever. They are not giving us any intelligence. So I hope we are not pursuing their agenda on our own and trying to break the country by 2030, since we escaped 2015. And all the indicators are there. We wanted Tucano aircraft. It was not given to us. It started with Leahy Law. Human rights record in Nigeria is bad. The Leahy Law thing, then Castra 2017. Those are there. And now Trump coming up to say, I'm banning immigrants from Nigeria. A lot of things are developing. And because we are dealing with China, we should expect a lot of problems. So some of the issues we are facing might not even be internally generated. Nobody said what the West did in Libya was wrong. Nobody has challenged them. But they ensure that Gaddafi and the entire Libya is broken. Are we sure that's not what is happening in Nigeria today? We need to look beyond all this
but you know, Major General,
and be serious.
There are so many things that you've lumped together. Because, well, first, the Leahy Law is the Leahy Law. You don't expect them to look the other way if the law is there. So they have to play by the books. What can anyone do about that one? And then when you talk about the American agenda, it's not that it's an official report of theirs. It's just an independent group who did a study and then they published that.
Please,
I don't know how we can say we're pursuing their agenda.
A group captain in the U.S. War College wrote that report, and it was adopted by CIA. And because they were challenged, that's why the U.S. government mellowed down and said, no, it was not an official position. But the CIA adopted it and said this was going to happen. So I'm not saying it's going to happen. It is left for us as Nigerians to work and ensure our own security. Nobody's going to secure us. Nobody's going to ensure Nigeria remains one. It is left for us Nigerians to ensure that we remain one entity. And that's why I said there should be something driving our activities. Maybe we want to be the best in the black world, and we work towards that. And forget about all this federal character, where do you come from, and all this nonsense.
But you know,
those are issues.
Some of the other considerations.
Something.
And that's part of why we did ask if you think that, you know, the president is getting the full brief of what's going on, because some of the comments attributed to him or he's making, that those who are asking that, wait a minute, that they expect him to know some of these things. But then, only recently, the Southwest Security Network was a major headline hogger, and of course, it's still out in the news. So there are those who also thought, why wouldn't they do that if they've not been frustrated right up there to take some of those decisions? Because it may appear as though they're frustrated with the way things are going on. So they have to take that step. Do you share the same view?
Yes, they might take the steps they believe is necessary. But to me, it should be more of economic or regional economic integration we should be looking at, not lumping another security outfit. Indirectly, we are going state police. If we are prevented from going the state police direction, let us go regional. Let's bring ourselves together. The North came up and said they are starting another operation or whatever. This will not assist us. Yes, it might be maybe a means of employment. It might assist in employing some people. But what we need is real economic integration of the regions. If, for instance, somebody manufacturing something in Enugu realize that his raw material is coming from Plateau and possibly from Kaduna State, he will struggle to ensure that there are no problems. And that's why part of the security awareness, and tell his people, please, let us live as one so that this thing can continue. You employ people here, and those guys are employed. But what we are looking at is, if it affects the elite, everybody shouts. But if it doesn't, well, things are okay. And I believe that is the path we are treading. Regional thing that could lead to serious crisis in the future.
Well, those who will then say that if all of these problems are staring us in the face, well, the elite or those at the helm of affairs should then do what the people want, or else who knows what might happen. But we appreciate your coming on this morning. Retired Major General Garba Wahab is a former Director of Army Operations in the Army Headquarters and also a former Director of Army Administration. Thank you for your thoughts this morning. We'll be back in a moment. Don't go away.